Welcome to this episode of Love That For You, the podcast where we dive into the stories that shape us and celebrate the moments that make us who we are. I'm your host, Morgan Leatherwood, a Charlotte-based professional photographer with a passion for genuine connections. Get ready for a conversation that's both lighthearted and deeply insightful. As we journey through each episode, you'll witness the power of storytelling in its purest form. Whether we're discussing pivotal life moments, overcoming challenges, or celebrating achievements, every story will leave you saying, "Love that for you." It's a phrase that encapsulates our genuine enthusiasm for the triumphs of others and the joy that radiates from their successes. You could be anywhere, listening to anything, but you're here, and I love that for you. Welcome back, everybody, to the Love That For You podcast. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to have a new jingle every time I open up this podcast. We'll just have a new jingle. Everyone, I am Morgan. I'm glad to be with you. You heard the intro. You know who I am. Today, I am getting to talk with my sister, Lauren Allen. We have gotten to talk about lots of different things now. We also have a recorded episode about Disney and going to Disney World and all the Disney hacks, but specifically we talked about going on our first Disney cruise. So if you have not yet listened to that episode, we highly recommend you listen to it, especially if you want to learn more about Disney cruises and traveling and all of that. We even did allude to what we're going to talk about in today's conversation. We did allude to that in that Disney episode, so they kind of do work together. So again, if you haven't yet listened to that episode, we highly encourage you to do that. But without further ado, I'm going to stop talking for just a second. Lauren, if you could just spend another minute, if this is somebody's first time hearing you talk, because they haven't listened to that episode yet, can you just give us a little background to who you are?
Sure. My name is Lauren. I am Morgan's sister. I am her oldest sibling. I'm married to John. He is the best person in our family. We say that every time. And then I have 4 girls. I have a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 4-year-old. So I span from like preschool, we just finished potty training, all the way to like middle school. So
John just got potty trained and we're very proud of him.
Oh,
he's come a long way. One thing that I don't think you talked about in the other episode, but tell us really fast about all of your pets.
So when John and I first got married, we got 2 dogs. Our dogs are now 14 and 15. So we have a Maltipoo, a long-haired dachshund, and 2 years ago, a cat decided to live with us. So we now
That's
have
how it happens.
Cat. We have an indoor cat. And then this year, we had another outdoor cat that, same situation, came to our front door outside. Basically, the girls started feeding her. We thought she was
You didn't shoot her. We shot her. No. You thought she was a boy.
Thought she was a he, which apparently we are horrible at gendering cats because we've got it wrong twice now. And she is a she. And so we had to change her name a little bit. And yeah, she adopted us. She now lives inside.
2 cats, 2 dogs.
2 cats, 2 dogs.
Those people.
And 6 people.
I love it. That's
John
awesome.
says no more.
Yeah. You probably already know this about me. I am a pretty extroverted, fun, spontaneous Enneagram 7, and Lauren is the very resourceful, knowledgeable, slightly introverted Enneagram 5. And we thrive in our relationship because when 7s are healthy, we go to 5. So Lauren is happiest when I am healthiest. We should get that as a sticker.
That's
a good one.
That's really
I literally
good.
just thought of that. That's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Here, speaking of healthy, we're just going to dive right into it. Lauren and I have been on a health journey for a while now, and it has been all-consuming, both of our lives and both of our families' lives, and many of you have been a part of this journey, whether close and knowing details and encouraging us, or maybe just following us on social media and watching from afar. But we've been on this journey, and we have had several people reach out and want to know what we're doing, how we're doing it. And I think for a while you might think differently. For me, it was like while I was going through it, I mean, we're still going through it, but at the beginning stages, it was very personal for me. And so I just wanted to kind of navigate what I was doing and how I was doing it, and didn't really feel like jumping into my DM several times a day to like almost feel like I had to explain myself. But I think we're both at the point where we're just like really excited with how far we've come, and we have already been able to encourage lots of friends and family who are on similar paths and have similar questions and everything that we had. So that's been really exciting. So this is kind of our tell all for what we've been doing, how we've been managing it, and we plan to just dive right into it. I think it'd be best if we each kind of, maybe we can piggyback off of each other, but kind of like share our stories a little bit of why we got to the point that we got to, of being like, okay, something needs to change. Because maybe you've been there where you're like, something needs to change. And then you try to do something and it works for a week and then it doesn't, or it works for a month and then you gain all the weight back and feel terrible. Like I feel like we've probably all, especially as women, have tried something that doesn't work and it's so frustrating. So for Lauren and myself, it's exciting that we feel like we have found something that works, that is healthy, that is scientifically backed up, and that is sustainable. And we're ready to share that with you guys. And I will say, like, we might say something that you don't agree with or you don't like or you don't know, and like that is okay. We're all able to have our own opinions, and we just ask that you listen and respect where we're coming from, just like we would do for you. And I don't think at this point we're really like looking for other people's opinions in it either, we've had a lot of voices speak into us and a lot of wise voices, and we'll talk more, but like doctors and psychiatrists, and we'll talk all about Lauren's journey, my journey, because it is similar, but there are differences. And so, I think we'll just get into it. Now everyone's like on pins and needles, like, oh my gosh, what are they about to talk about?
Well, and I think it's important that we encourage each other. And I think that that's been one of the benefits of doing this journey with you and then with other friends, where, for a long time when I wanted to be private, I wanted to kind of keep it all to myself because it was new and it was scary. And I was going through a lot of that by myself. But once I started telling people and having conversations and even encouraging other people in their different health journeys, how we were all able to encourage each other. And I think that's really important, that one of the biggest things that we've learned in this health journey is how to look at our bodies differently, how to look at our health differently, how to encourage each other, how we speak about our body matters. I think that's really, really important. Do you want me to start with my journey?
Sure.
Okay. So I have had 4 kids. My oldest is 12. My youngest is 4. So, over those years. And during those years, I'm just going to put it all out there. So I struggled with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which then caused a lot of other things or complicated a lot of other things. I struggled with infertility. All of my kids, I had to use infertility medications to get pregnant with them. So that was a difficult thing in the journey, and something that over years really, really affected my health. It really affected my weight. I also struggled with hyperemesis gravidarium, which is a condition in pregnancy where you basically cannot stop throwing up. So for many, many months of every single pregnancy, I was deathly sick, having to go to the hospital and get IV fluids, taking lots of medications to try to just stay pregnant, stay healthy, not die. So because of that affected my metabolism. It affected how I viewed food. It affected how my body recovered after my pregnancies, which then led to a lot of weight issues. So I went from, being overweight to morbid obesity pretty quickly after having babies. And when that happened, how a lot of times it happens for us where those things then complicate or kind of stack on top of each other. So then I had some prediabetes that started cropping up. My A1C number, the number that tells you what your blood sugar is over a period of 3 months, that started to creep up. Cholesterol started to increase. And so just some things that made my endocrinologist this past summer especially say, let's talk about this. And it's something that we had talked about. I had done lots of programs. 2 of my favorite programs I was going to mention, because it's still what I use. I love them for exercise programs, but I love my Peloton. We got it back during COVID days at the beginning of the pandemic, and it's one of my favorite ways to work out. Like, it's just so encouraging. They have so many programs, so many options now to use. And then the one that I love because it's portable, I can use the app on my phone, is Madeline Moves. And we can link those 2, I think.
Love Madeline. Shout out Madeline. She is crushing it in every way.
And I love now that she's had a child, I believe.
She's pregnant with her second.
Yeah, how she has also created content for moms now. Like it's so helpful and necessary for us to be the healthiest we can be. And then walking. I think my favorite, what has helped me mental health wise the most has been walking. John and I walk almost every night if we can. If it's not pouring rain, if we don't have like late night things that we're out with the kids or whatever, we try to walk every night now. So,
and I can totally attest to that because I call Lauren at least once a day, and normally one of the times is at night. And she's like, "Oh, I'm out on my walk."
Yeah, if you call me at like 8:30, 9 o'clock, I will probably be walking outside.
Yeah, I don't think you said it in your intro, but you are a nurse, so you do have a very like scientific background. And like alongside being an Enneagram 5 and just wanting to research the shiz out of everything, you actually are brilliant and you know science and you literally saved people's lives. So I think that that's important to know that this isn't just like, well, from what I heard from this person, it's like, no, you are actually a very reputable source to be saying what you're saying today.
Yeah.
Whereas I might be saying a little bit more like experiential things or like, but then you can help me like back it up with that science too, which is, I think, great. So
because I'm a nurse, because I have that experience,
because
of that, well, what I was going to say is actually, I feel very strongly that I partnered with my doctors in making these health choices. So I highly recommend finding doctors that you trust. If you don't trust your doctor, if they don't spend time talking to you, we've had this conversation. If you feel like you're just getting pushed in and out of a doctor's office, find a different doctor. There are better doctors. There's somebody who cares, who can listen to you.
I think that's such a good word because I didn't realize that that wasn't normal to have a doctor who just like treated you like the next patient, check you off, next one. Like that has been my experience with a lot of my doctors in the past of like, I just felt like the next person and like they walked in and they were like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "Good." And they're like, "How's this?" And I'm like, "It's okay." But like they didn't actually care. And then I was like, "Oh, I guess that's just," it's like, no, you can actually have doctors who like care about you. And like that is really important because everything that we're like about to talk about went through our doctors first and foremost, so that if anything happened, if there were side effects, even just like moderating like the good things happening, our doctors were the ones with that authority.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Yeah. And also to say everybody's journey is different. So like this is not health advice. This is just our testimony, our experience. We're just sharing our story because I would never ever tell somebody that they should do what we did.
100%.
Because this is our journey, you know, and this is, and yours and my journey are different. Like how I started was different, why I needed to start, how you started, your kind of issues are different.
My issues are different. They're different, everybody.
They're next level. They're next level.
I love that for you.
So my journey started back approximately like this time around, you know, because I've done the diet trends. I've gone up and down, all the things. In June of this past year, I hit 2022. I hit my highest weight, not pregnant, that I had ever hit. I had started a workout program. It was fantastic. I did all the right things. I tore something in my foot and was basically told I could not do anything on my, like I couldn't walk or like I had to be really careful with it for several weeks. So then I went to my endocrinologist and I was telling him like how frustrated I was and I had done all the right things. I was eating really well. I had made really good healthy choices. And he ran all of my blood work again, like a whole panel, all the things. And everything came back the same or a little bit worse than they had the previous time. So he was like, you know, I think it's time to talk about medication. So in very beginning of July of 2022, I started taking a medication called Mounjaro. I also, over the period of like all my infertility treatments, I had taken a medication called metformin, which is a lot of times prescribed for prediabetes or diabetes patients. I had maybe a little bit of benefit that I saw from that. I had horrible side effects, like horrible. Like we basically got to the point where we were like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
My doctor literally, it was so bad. I was so miserable that he put it as an allergy because I was definitely like, I was super, super sick when I would take it. So he was like, yeah, no, this is not the right thing. So we tried Mounjaro. Mounjaro was recently FDA approved last year. So it was relatively new. I had never heard of it. I had heard of, he mentioned a few like Ozempic and several like that, Wegovy, that had been on the market a little bit longer and were a little bit more well-known at that point.
Also, let me pause you for a second. At this point, you're just frustrated, maybe similarly to where I was at that part of life of just like, I want to lose weight. I am trying. I'm eating healthy. I'm trying to eat balanced. Of course, I'm splurging. Sometimes, of course, I want a Big Mac. Like, I'm a human, but overall, I'm trying to eat right. I'm trying to exercise. And whatever I do, it will not leave my body.
Yeah.
And other people are like, living trash lives and they're sticks, which also like that is not health. So we don't want to get to that. But my point is it's like I'm actually trying and working and it's not showing what I feel like it should show.
Yeah. And I had gone the, multiple different programs routes. I had done nutrition programs, super helpful, learned a lot. But also, I was still kind of stuck.
I can't live on packaged granola bars for lunch every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So it might work. I've done a couple of those systems, but not sustainable.
Yeah.
And what we're looking for is like, I want it to work. I want it to be healthy and I want it to be sustainable. So, continue.
I started medication in July. I really didn't tell anyone. I don't know that I told you.
Literally
months.
I had no idea for months.
And then
still a little bitter about that, but it's fine.
Sometime in the fall, people started to notice that I lost weight and I was doing all the same things. At that point, my foot injury had healed. So I was trying to get back into moving more and walking and doing some exercise programs. And so when people would ask me, I'd be like, oh, well, I'm eating better and I'm moving more. And
which was true.
But also I really wasn't sure how long the medication, like where I was going to go with the journey. So I kind of was like, that was about the time that it became TikTok famous. And so when it became TikTok famous,
that's when I found out about it.
Yeah. When it became TikTok famous, I did not want to tell anybody about it because I had been on it. And because I was like, ooh, this is like I'm not doing it to lose a couple pounds. Like my BMI was like morbidly obese. I needed to lose 100 pounds type of thing. So
yeah. So at that point it had become like more well known. I don't even know if I technically knew about it at that point. You were the first one who actually told me about it. Because about at that time in your, I hate saying the word journey. We've said it 28 times already on this episode, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
At about that point in time, I have been reaching out to you, and I mean my own story with weight issues, and I have not birthed 4 children, and I do not have PCOS or stuff like that, but I do have Hashimoto's and some other like minor thyroid type of issues mixed with like A1C not good. I felt like metabolism terrible on the pre-diabetic chart as well, definitely. And I had tried all the things like I talked about earlier. Nothing was working. That's when I started the 75 Hard Challenge, which was last August. And that is, if you're not familiar, 75 days in a row of exercising for 50 minutes a day, drinking a gallon of water a day, not drinking alcohol, following some sort of diet, also reading, I think like 10 pages of a book a day. I think that was about it. And I did it and I was so proud of myself. I lost 17 pounds, which is not terrible. It also wasn't amazing. Other people that had done what I did lost like 30 or more. And so then it's like, here I go again. And then it's like, I got off of 75 hard and what happens? It's not a sustainable lifestyle. So even though I'm trying to eat healthy, I'm gaining that weight back. And so I was about probably at that point that I reached out to you and it was just like, I'm frustrated. And I don't know if like being siblings, if we have this similar story too. I feel like for myself, ever since probably 7th grade, I was super self-conscious about my body. Like I look back on pictures and it was like, oh my goodness, like why was I self-conscious? Like I was adorable. But when you're that age, like I really was self-conscious and I didn't look like my friends. I mean, I remember, I don't even know if I told anybody this. I remember being in like 8th or 9th grade and I had like, did you know this? I had like underarm sweat issues. Like I'd sweat through my pits. It didn't matter. Did you know about this? It didn't matter what I wore. And I would put jackets over my shirt so that you couldn't see my sweat stains. But then I would sweat through my coats. Like it was so bad, you guys. It was so bad. So anyway, went to the doctor, got on medication, ended up being fine. Like whatever. I don't even know what I was on, but it helped it. But like, I just was always self-conscious. There was always something about me that didn't feel normal to what everyone else was. And then you take that to college. I literally never got asked out on dates, which could have been for a million other reasons, maybe about me or not about me. But what did I think? It was like, oh, it's because I look this way. And so it was just like all of this stuff that combines that then it's like, okay, well, now I'm 30 and I'm trying to be more secure and know who I am. And we're both believers and it's like my identity's in Christ. And so like ultimately we have that security. But at the same time, I want to feel good and I want to look good and I want to look good for other people, like in a not selfish way. I just want to be my best, healthiest self. And I wasn't that. And it was really depressing, honestly. Like it really caused a lot of feelings. Like, I don't know if I was like actually diagnosed depressed because of it, but I had a lot of feelings and I was very defeated. I felt very defeated. So it was about at that point that you had told me like, oh, well, I've been on this for a couple months. You should get an appointment with the endocrinologist and talk to him.
Yeah. And I hesitated to even say anything to you about it because I didn't want to give it to you as something of like, this is going to fix all your problems. But I also didn't want to be like, hey, you look awful. You should do this. You know, it was kind of like I had this at that point, great experience. And I saw you struggling because we would talk about it. And so it was like, you know what? Like, maybe we're more alike genetically than we have always like teased that we are. Like, obviously we have the same parents. So maybe there's something that we're similarly struggling with. So I was like, you should see my endocrinologist, who is my favorite doctor ever. And his team is amazing. His nurse practitioner is amazing. Yeah. And so I was like, you should see them.
Yeah.
And that's when you went and got your blood work done and talked with him about some of those concerns.
First I went to my primary doctor and did not have the best experience there and ended up not revisiting that primary doctor just because I had mentioned what I was feeling like for the first time. And it's like, I feel like you should like be open to how I'm telling you how I feel. They were not the most like positive, and it wasn't even about that medication. It was almost, she just wasn't the best. So anyway, I was just like, can you just, because in order to see that endocrinologist, I had to have a referral from my doctor. In order to get a referral, she really wanted me to do that full panel, which is great. I wanted to do that. I wanted to see exactly what my levels were for everything.
Yeah.
So I did that. It took me 3 months to get that appointment with him. Remember?
Yeah.
Because we talked about it in August. It was in November when I got that appointment to talk to the endocrinologist. And then that was when I was able to like have my full conversation with him. It was like night and day different that I was like, here's how I've been struggling. These are the things that I've tried. And it was, I'm not kidding you guys, like the most relieving conversation. I had told him almost everything I just shared here on the podcast. And he said, yeah, that's not good. And it's not you that's doing anything wrong. It's your body not working correctly. So it doesn't matter what you do. If you don't fix the inside of your body, then nothing's going to change. You can, for a short-term period, do a diet, do a cleanse, do whatever. It will not be sustainable and it will not fix what's broken. In order to fix what's broken, we got to find what's not working and we've got to do what we have to do to repair it. And it was the first time that I've ever had anyone tell me that, like in that language, that was like, oh, like that makes perfect sense. Like that makes the most sense. So it was like, okay, well then what are my options to fix it? And then we started having the conversation about Mounjaro, which is the medication that we both are on. So do you want to spend a couple minutes and just like talk about Mounjaro? Like what is it? Everyone who's probably listening has heard of all the different things. So maybe like, you're so smart, but maybe like a bird's eye view of the differences of all the things and how they can help and hurt and all the things.
Yeah. So Mounjaro, very similarly to Ozempic and Wegovy, is a medication that you take. It's a shot that you take once a week and you start on a very low dose. You gradually increase the dose as needed to get to whatever the dosage that will help lower your A1C, help with weight loss, but also you're kind of watching your other side effects that you're having too, because there are legitimate other side effects that you can have on this medication, which is why I feel so strongly that you need to have a healthcare professional that is monitoring it because, you know, you hear these horror stories nowadays because it did get TikTok famous and people are getting random people to prescribe stuff and it like just
and
be
all
careful.
These, like, celebrities just like I've got to lose weight for this next movie and then it makes
like to fit in a dress or what like and then they wonder why they end up in the ER, you know. So just be careful. Like talk to your doctor. But yeah, so the medication, like Ozempic and Wegovy, it's a medication that will send a message to your brain to tell your brain that you are full. It also sends a message to your stomach, your intestines, and it slows everything down. It also makes how you digest food and use the energy, it makes it more efficient. So it effectively is protecting some of your internal organs. It's using your energy more efficiently. It's telling your brain you don't need as much food. So there's multiple different factors. The nice thing about Mounjaro is it actually is a combination of 2 different active ingredients that come together and pair great to do the work, where like Ozempic and Wegovy is a singular ingredient. So
like Ozempic and Wegovy are the ones sending the message to the brain that you're full. Like that is the primary. That's a question. I'm not.
Yeah. I mean, yes. So like the medications kind of are doing that, but it's 2 different active ingredients. And those are great. They're great medications. They're just a little bit older. So this one's just a newer one on the market. I've heard that there's actually a couple other new ones that are coming out in the market in the next couple years. I think it's amazing when you look at like endocrinology and obesity medicine, the amount of ground that they've covered in some of these medications in just the handful of years it will be life-changing for so many people.
Yeah.
So it's really amazing. And then also the goal of Mounjaro is for like there's multiple goals. Like you're trying to become more healthy. So you want to lower A1C, you want obviously it helps with weight loss, so you want to achieve a healthy weight, but a healthy weight for everyone is different. And our endocrinologist was very good about telling us up front like is not necessarily like your goal is not necessarily going to be what everybody else's goal is, and doesn't really love the whole BMI chart as like a rule to follow, but as more of a tool in guiding us. And like generally this is kind of where you're at health wise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Yeah. I think that's great. Yeah. The fact that it has like both of those like ingredients, like you said, where like it does help you feel more full. So it's like when I do eat food, it just does help as an aid of like, oh, I don't need to like eat this entire burger if I'm eating a burger. Like I can, or like I naturally like want to eat it without the bun now, like because I just don't want as much. And I know the bread's going to fill me up more than anything. So like still making healthy choices, but it does have that effect. But then also knowing it's the one that we're on is so much more like effective than just that, because it's actually retraining our like organs to work as they should, to slow everything down, to use everything we eat more efficiently. Like it's fixing the problem. So I am losing weight. My body is also being a better body.
Yeah.
You know, and now it's like we go get all of our blood done and levels checked. Everything is more normal. It's like, that's what I want. I don't want, oh, well, I lost 50 pounds or whatever, but then everything else is still bad. No. Like everything works together.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the medication also is a tool. So you're using that tool with other things like your healthy diet, your like in the health journey, we weren't just eating burgers because it didn't make us feel good.
Right.
And I think that was something else that when you're limited on what you can eat because you can only handle so much food, we really had to prioritize protein. You had to prioritize healthy food because you had to consume that, or you felt like, I would remember a couple days where I would kind of forget, you know, you get busy with the kids and I'm like, oh, have I eaten today?
Yeah.
But at that point, you're miserable. You have no energy. You feel like going to bed. And it's like, I did not get my protein today. I did not, you know, so I feel like it made you make sure that you ate well.
And because you, like you said, because you weren't always like starving or thinking about your next meal, which I was before this, I was that person that was at lunch saying, where are we going for dinner? Like I was that person. I love food. And some people have asked, like, has it changed your relationship with food? Does it make you sad that you're not always hungry because you love food? I will say it did completely change my relationship with food, but I think in the best way, because I kind of was like a toxic snacker and I would eat my feelings. And now it's like, oh, I'm sad. I guess I'll just cry. Like, I guess I'll just go do a craft or run. I don't know.
And in the next episode of Morgan's podcast, we're going to be talking about therapy.
Yeah. Oh boy. Okay. Listen, I am the host here. Thank you. Yeah. So, and I will say for sure, a high protein diet has been what both of us have been doing. And are you still drinking those protein shakes?
Occasionally. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a type of protein shake, we can link to it, that we both really enjoy. And when I was first starting it, because of just like first starting everything and all the things I did have worse side effects than Lauren, I think. And I really couldn't keep a lot down depending on what I ate. And that again just comes to food choices and like having to like learn that and like discipline myself. But I found like drinking protein shakes and like making protein smoothies and doing that really helped me just kind of thrive and get through like those beginning stages of side effects. Let's talk about side effects.
Yeah.
What did you have?
I had a little bit of nausea. I really was good.
You had nausea. You had maybe had a little low energy and then a little like dizziness of like, remember when we like stood up that one time?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh boy.
Well, yeah. Making sure that you have enough. Yeah. Like drinking enough water. And like, there were so many things that in that time period that we were learning, like, oh, I've got to eat this differently and I've got to drink more water. And like those things kind of all went together, which I feel like was a really great time of learning those things.
Right.
But other than that, I really didn't have a lot of side effects. You had more side effects than I had.
I had more nausea. And this was so I started this in November, right? So probably until March-ish and like until springtime, whenever like I had just done a new dose, like the new shot, it was like a once a week shot. Whenever I had just done that, if I had eaten anything like after like 7:00 at night, I would TMI, but I would get sick like the next morning at like 4:00. I would wake up, feel very nauseous, go get sick. And that was not fun. That was very much not fun.
You really struggled with greasy foods too. And like the amount, like you couldn't eat pizza, you couldn't eat, like there was a lot of stuff that you would have like a bite of and be like, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that. And then I feel like that kind of.
Yeah. So for anyone being like, this is the magic shot that helps you lose weight.
Yeah.
You can come sit on the floor next to me and hold my hair back.
Well, I think it really helped train us too, though. Cause like
100%.
Anytime that it was like, not that you were thinking, oh, I'm going to go cheat and have a pizza, but like if you did, you didn't feel great, So it kind of was like, oh,
which is kind of how our body should act when we eat a pizza, if you think about it.
Yeah.
I
mean, in moderation, but like,
well, that was the thing too. I used to get 3 slices and now it's like I have 2 bites of one and I'm like, I think I'm good. Do you have like a tangerine or something? And now I'm just looking for to be fueled in other places.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying the bite of pizza, like, because it's a bite of pizza and pizza's delicious, but it's not like I'm fueling my entire meal from this.
Yeah. I think that was what changed for me, like in my relationship with food, is I enjoyed it more. I enjoyed the bites. I savored the bites of different food. I baked a lot for several months, like, I don't know, maybe around the holidays in January, February, I really was baking a lot of bread. And people are like, how are you losing weight and baking all this bread? I wasn't eating all the bread. I was baking the bread and I'd have a slice, I would serve it to my family and I'd have a slice and, also, John would have a slice and the kids would have a slice. And, but like we were baking it and enjoying it. And I was like really enjoying the quality of certain foods.
And I'd also say it was homemade. So it probably was like way healthier than like going out and buying bread somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's another big point too, is like eating at home more really changed for us, which, I mean, you know this, but people don't know this. John started cooking during COVID more, and he now is the one who mostly cooks for us at our house because he loves it. And for me, it was a chore and I could do it and it was fine. And my kids ate their food, but he loves it. He thrives.
It's like therapy for him.
Yeah.
Like
he cooks like the best food. It's so healthy. Like, for instance, right now, every week we're picking up our CSA box with all the fresh veggies. And he's so excited to learn a new recipe for all of the veggies that we get in that box for the week. So he's thriving. We are thriving. Our health is so much better. But I think cooking at home and not eating as much processed foods. But then also when we go to Disney for a few days, we're going to eat the Disney food, And so kind of having that balance of like, but when we get home, we say that we're like, when we are on our way home, we're like, oh, I can't wait to get home and have like some really good green vegetables or like some food that doesn't make me feel a little bit bloated or like whatever. So
I also want to, this might be a great spot to kind of just talk about the mindset of food too, because I think it can be easy for us to want to eat healthy, cook at home, get the fresh steak, the fresh vegetables, all of that. But then when we go on vacation, we could be like, well, I'm about to throw all this away for this ice cream. And it's like, I think we need to talk about that, because I think that that's such a bad thing to say. And it's so shameful to yourself, and it's not allowing any grace for you to be a human. And one thing that, I mean, most of this, I mean, besides all of the incredible benefits that this medication, amongst every other thing that I've been doing, has done for my body, like the mindset shift that I've had of food and what food means to me has completely shifted to there is no good food and no bad food. And this is something that I honestly kind of learned from you, because Lauren has these, and we'll link to it. Lauren has these like affirmation cards of food and what is food. And she's so intentional with her kids too, of like learning, because even her 4 daughters are at all very formidable ages, you know, where like unintentional thoughts and communication could enter their minds about food and about their bodies. And so I love how intentional you are of like, even at each of their ages, we're going to actually learn that we're beautiful as we are worthy as we are. Like, I'm already going into it, but like, God created us for a purpose. God has given us gifts. Food is a gift. Now that we know that, let's talk about how food is a gift, because different foods are different gifts for different things. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Love That For You. As always, I want to extend a heartfelt thank you to everyone who shares their incredible story with us. If this story resonated with you, don't hesitate to reach out and let them know. Remember, we're all about celebrating the victories big and small. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Keep spreading those positive vibes and saying, love that for you. Until next time, friends, I'm Morgan Leatherwood, reminding you to embrace your own story and find joy in the journeys of others.